This is August 1st, 2025. For this video, just going to be doing a walk around tour of my young garden. This would be something we can look back on in the future and see how much things have changed. And try and keep commentary to the minimum and just show the plants and talk about what's here. This one is Washingtonia robusta. It's in its first year here. It's really taken off. It's actually as big as my second year robustas now. Just very aggressive growth on this one, looking great. Over here we have a needle palm, one of 3 needle palms on the property. This one's got 3 trunks on it, at least. There might be a 4th one I'm seeing there. Another little needle palm. It's one of the 3 or 4 native palm species here in coastal Mississippi. This is a bald cypress down in the swamp. Definitely a good tree for the swampy areas. And then backtracking over here, we've got the 3rd needle palm. And then our first Boutea jelly palm. One of my smaller ones, just planted this year as well. And then this big red maple wasn't planted by me, but Spanish moss is cool to look at, definitely worth making note of. As far as the natural trees, we've got a lot of canopy around, slash pine, loblolly pine, live oak, white oak, red maple. We have this nice southern magnolia right here. There's a handful of those on the property. There's a couple hollies, but not too diverse with our trees, but they do provide wind protection from cold northern winds in the winter, and they provide protection from hurricane winds in the summer. And some much needed shade in the summer. Now here we got a cycad. This is the sago. Nice little, nice spot for a little plant. And it's our only cycad so far. Then we have Phoenix sylvestris, Sylvester date palm. This one has some transplant shock when put in the ground, but has recovered quite well. It's now showing very nice growth. This should be a nice tree one day. And over here we've got silver saw palmetto. Very small right now, but one of the other native palm species. I mostly see the green ones around here, but I got the silvers. That's the only one they had in stock. And the silvers are supposedly a little more cold hardy anyways. But if the green ones are around in the wild, should be pretty bulletproof. Now this one, not so bulletproof. This is the Majesty palm, $20 Lowe's rescue, but thought I'd give it a try. It's here in the shade and in a kind of swampy area. They like water, and it's doing very well, but I give it about a 50-50 odds to survive this winter. And coming back over here, we got Phoenix canariensis, Canary Island date palm. Small right now, but they're pretty slow growing. This should be an impressive tree one day. Then the bananas we have, they're called Texas Star, and they've kind of been kind of small, but they've got some pups on them now. And just in the last couple weeks, they've been pushing out a new leaf, each one. So starting to show some acceleration to their growth here in the middle of summer. And then maybe our statement tree, Bismarckia. And this is going to be marginal in our climate, but possible to do well. I intend to do the Christmas light treatment if it's going to be in the 20s at night in the winter. But just pushed out a new frond. That opened up finally. Took forever to open up, but when it did, holy smokes, very nice. Impressive plant. And then we have here another bald cypress with Spanish moss on it. These were actually planted before my house was built. So these are actually in their 5th year in the ground, and they were about the size of this little one right here when they were first planted. So they've grown quite a bit. They're taller than me now, 2 of them here. You can also see more Spanish moss there up in that white oak, and some in this shrubbery here. And another tree that we have a lot of is the Florida aspen, and that's what that is right there. It's also got some moss on it. Here's another Butea. This one a good bit larger. This one's in its 2nd year. And we have another Sylvester here. This one growing a little bit more tall and a bit less wide than the other. It also a little bit more silvery than the other one. Kind of interesting. But similar size, trunk-wise, between the two. And we've got 2 more Bismarckias you can see here. These ones went through the cold winter last year. They're in their 2nd year. And these may be the last surviving in-ground Bismarckias in the Mississippi coast. There was maybe a couple other houses that had them. I don't see them anymore. I think these are the last ones alive. They barely survived. You can see this one pushed out a burned up spear, and otherwise, besides that spear, the rest of the plant defoliated, but it's since pushed out one unusually small and lacking of the silver frond, and then we've finally got a healthy frond out of this one. Unfortunately, they're spending the whole summer trying to recover. By the time they recover, it's going to be fall. Here's our other one. This one's a little bit better off. One more little saw palmetto back here. And another little saw palmetto right here. Baby Washingtonia. This one survived unprotected 15-degree freeze. That was the coldest temperature since 1899. And it took, I had to trunk cut this one. You can see where I cut it off. But it survived. I was impressed. And then we have our row of 2nd year Washingtonias. They're all looking very good. This one growing kind of tall. This one growing a bit more compactly, but still with a nice trunk on it. This one also more in compact mode. And kind of, this one's showing some hybrid properties with all that fuzz in there. A little bit of a filibuster look to this one. And then this one here growing tall. Maybe one of my nicest ones. And then back here we got the bananas, blue javas right here. More blue javas. And then back in the weeds, we've got a grand Nain back there. There's a shrubby looking live oak tree that's full of Spanish moss. And a bunch more of it hanging on these trees as well. Here we got another Washingtonia robusta. Another baby Washingtonia. This one survived that freeze and did not require a trunk cut. But it's also next to these septic tanks, and I'm sure that was giving it a little bit of heat, especially underground. Washingtonia robusta right here. And then we got another one that's growing quite aggressively. Big Washingtonia, lots of fronds on this one. And then we got a Butea. This is maybe one of my nicest Buteas as far as how thick the trunk is on it. There's a blue java banana over here in the weeds. And we have another Butea. growing. And back here in our septic spray area, we've got a grove of plants. This is a pond cypress. We got several of these, and bald cypress that look like this. And then some of these aren't looking too good because they got sprayed with a little bit of bleach. Some of that got in the septic tanks when I did my shock treatment on my well. This is a water tupelo. These really took off this year, probably doubled in size. And another water tupelo over here. Here's one of many wild sable miners that are on the property. I've got to have at least a dozen of them, maybe as many as 20 or so on the property. Here we go with another Butea. This is a nice one in a good sunny spot too. Most of my Buteas I've got kind of in the weeds, you know, for more of a jungle look. I think they fit in, but that's also kind of just where I had room to plant them. We've got another Butea right here in the driveway. I wanted something to line the driveway with. This one really growing tall. I think it's a little bit stretched because it gets a lot of shade. But late afternoon, it gets plenty of sun. And then one last saw palmetto right here. These are very shade tolerant, so will be very good right there. And we're out here by the street with our last in-ground plant, the Butea, which replaced what I thought was going to be a dead Washingtonia after that crazy freeze. But this one ended up coming back, but doesn't look to be growing much at all. I don't know that it's really going to make it. But I've left it there. Finally, we got our porch plants here. These are some tropicals that I can bring inside if it's going to freeze. We have one foxtail here. Just got these within the last week or two. And I transplanted them from a 3-gallon to a 7-gallon pot. Here's a bottle palm. Good palm for a pot, but very cold sensitive. And then one more foxtail. Here's the view from way up here. When these get big, this would be a really nice view. And then looking down here, the big, relatively big Bismarckia down there.